Hey folks, how you doing? It's James here with a little kind of bonus, a little supplementary interview with somebody who I feel very close to. I've been working with for a very long time, and really by introduction, this is the love child of Hunter S. Thompson and Wayne Dyer. That's the best way I could introduce Stuart Wellborn to you. Stuart and I met, man, at least it must be like 15 years ago now. Somewhere
Lazy Coach.
Lazy Coach, yeah, which is currently celebrating its 15th anniversary. And so, yeah, we're talking like near 15 years we've known each other. When I was doing events down in a little hotel opposite where I lived, Stuart always, what always struck me, and the reason I've liked Stuart personally over this time is he's real. Like in an age where everyone's talking about authenticity and being real and being genuine, what's always struck me about Stuart is just his guy next doorness. But the reason I wanted to do this interview is for us to get a chance to talk, because most of the time when we're talking, we are strategizing or he's sharing with me the latest draft of his next book or whatever it might be. And it's an exciting time because Stuart's just put another book out that we're going to be talking about, called "It's Not Okay to Be Not Okay." Controversial. There it is. Hold it up again for longer. That was brilliant. There
Shit, I told me books over.
It's not okay to be not okay. Available in store on Amazon right now. And you'll be wanting to go to it's not okay to be not okay.com. So write that down straight away as you're watching this. Just make a little note of it's not okay to be not okay.com. It'll probably be on the screen throughout this interview. We want you to check that out. We want you to get a copy of Stuart's book. Make sure you register for all the cool bonuses because he's done some awesome stuff that I find if you're somebody that likes handy reminders of like really cool thoughts and things you want to remember, I do this all the time. I take screenshots of quotes and things like that I can just look back to. Then make sure you register before you buy the book at It's Not Okay to Be Not Okay, because Stuart's got a bunch of those, some really cool ideas that you can like keep handy. He's got a missing chapter, like the deleted chapter that you get when you buy the book. That's really, really cool. Hey Stuart, what's going on, my man? How are you? Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, James. What's going on?
Yeah, what is going on with it's not
Who fucking knows?
okay? I thought we were supposed to be okay with not being okay.
Everyone's saying it's okay to be not okay. As in, yeah, that's a fair point that, everybody goes through rough times. When you start staying in that state and, normalizing it and this is how it is, that's when it's becoming an issue. One
of your powers, as far as I can see, is you've worked with a lot of the I would say the most challenged people. We've worked in the vicinity of a lot of some of the most challenged people. And from my perspective, Stuart, what makes me so curious about your work is like, I think there's a lot of people working, the people that will be watching this, we're coaches, we're healers, therapists, trainers. And it's like when we're having a tricky time, it can feel like we're having the worst of times, when we're in our shadow or whatever it is. And one of the things I like is, to me, you're a great big reality check because you've done talks to groups in prison. And like, that's probably like the most, like the types of people that you're doing these talks to are like some of these are the people that got real challenges.
My first book, which I wrote 2011, was on post-traumatic stress disorder for veterans, PTSD, a self-help survival guide. And when I published that, I went to Staffordshire prison and spoke to veterans who were sex offenders.
And the vets, I didn't know until speaking to you, like the ex-service people, like you would sort of try to help them reintegrate, right? When they came back into society, and like for a while you had a thing where you were like trying to help them. Talk me through that, what you were doing.
That was getting them into business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of elements to it. You go in as literally just becoming an adult. Everything's kind of taken care for you. You don't have to think about like, your food. You don't have to think about your lodgings and things like that. You're either in a barracks or, in my case, on a warship.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like I was a sonar operator in the seamanship branch, as it was called then. So we did all the old stuff that you'd expect to see on a tall ship, you know, like all the Nelson kind of stuff, the ropes, the anchoring, all that. Obviously not going up the mast to sails. We've moved on since that, but essentially we did all that, and we were the biggest department on a warship. So you got 52 blokes aged between, say, 17 and 30 in one small space for a long time at sea. And like the camaraderie and the banter just is insane. So then when you come out to Civvy Street, you just basically, thanks for your service, fuck off now, get on with it. There's the serious side of the military, and the humour is what gets you through it. And that's what I think civvies miss out on, is that humour, because
Yeah.
especially these days, everything's so fucking serious, isn't it?
Right, right. How much does it, like, if there was one lesson you'd want that you could take from the military, like to give to people that are, going, I'm not okay, I'm struggling with something now, what would that be?
It's a phase. You can get better.
Mm.
It's a tough time, and one of the best things that you can do to overcome that is find some humor in it.
Mm.
You know, better if some, this is fictional, but like if somebody was to lose an arm, for example, which has obviously happened to a lot of veterans, you can guarantee that like the thing that lifted that person up was when one of his oppos came in and took the piss out of him.
Yeah,
And when, like if it was no legs, don't get up, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
Now, that sounds harsh
yeah,
as you say it, it's just the words, but
yeah,
with the right context, and that could switch somebody from, deep, dark depression to, oh, fuck yeah, I'm taking life too seriously. I've got to move on. This is the
yeah.
situation as it is. Right. And whilst I'm sitting here in victim mode, wallowing in self pity, life's not going to get better.
Right, right,
And that
right.
can be the thing that snaps you out. It's just that little bit of dark humor. It's good that mental health is talked about now. That's great. But it's being talked about in the wrong way, and the wrong people are making statements that people are buying into. It's now influencers. It's now the most likes that, and it's a lot of bollocks as well, because people will share some information in a blog post, for example, about, and share some statistics, and this is the cause for this, and this is the cause for that. And before you know it, there are 1,000 copies of this load of bollocks.
Right.
And people are buying into it. And then when you go and look into it and research where it all came from, there's no actual backup to it. It's just like some like middle class teenagers wrote in their blog post something. And I worked in a health centre for 10 years.
Mm.
So I saw lots of different therapists. I was one of the original therapists in the health centre. And there was really good therapists from all, most of them were middle class. I was quite naive
Yeah,
of
right.
those 5 years, thinking that everybody in there was a people helper that really wanted to focus on making people better. Obviously, there's money involved, but there are healers in all the classes, we can say, and there are empaths and that, but there are also people that are just full of ego. And I refer to it in my book. I made a word up last year, narcicologist, mix of narcissist and psychologist. But
Narcissist. What a great that I'm remembering that one. That's great. What might we be missing that you're talking to in the book that we could maybe notice more in our clients, we could pay attention to more, to the points that you're really talking about the okayness of it all?
well, people often say, I'm fine, don't they?
Right.
But when does that ever actually mean I'm fine? It's usually hiding something.
Mm.
And when we do what we do, depending on your skill set, we have to use a fair amount of intuition. Um, and we get maybe unconscious signals, this is what I think is going on. But we never actually know what's going on for the client fully,
Mm.
because they will hide a lot of it. even if I did hypnoanalysis, so doing some regression to childhood and things like that. Even under hypnosis, and they tend to give it all up in that you still don't know if they're holding anything back. You kind of guess. And I think sometimes, yes, we've got to do that. They're there. It's okay. I understand where you're coming from, and understand rather than empathize, I think is a better word. I know some people like to call themselves empaths, but this is going to go back to class again, I guess, really. But the people who can afford therapy usually are middle class. They're not poor. So you can empathize with the person, or sympathize, I think is a better word, with the person, because you're on their level. But if you could not empathize with a working class person, a mother with like 2 kids, she's single, she's like doing 6 jobs. Unless you've done that, you can't empathize. If you've ever gone without food because you're feeding your pets, like I remember when I was between jobs in 2000, and was only working doing my hypnotherapy, so that wasn't bringing in enough to make sure my cats were fed. I was survived for about 3 weeks on crackers and cheese. And like, if you've never had to make those kind of decisions, you can't empathize with somebody. You can sympathize, but sometimes you need to. You love it as well. Provocative therapy.
Yeah.
Oh, my life's shit. Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, you're right. What? Yeah. It's understandable. Your life's wank. I don't blame you feeling like shit. Well, no, it's not. No. Some people need that. I mean, going back to prisons, there are some people who shouldn't be in prison, male or female, and some people who should be in prison, male or female. So, like, all that nonsense in the papers is bollocks, because my first 4 years was in a women's closed prison, and like some big names that people would have known of were in there. And, when you've looked into the eyes of somebody who was a murderer and not a manslaughter person, they are a cold killer. You see something different to what you see in somebody who was, crime of passion. And then I moved to a male open prison. So most of those guys go out to work every day. Some are short-termers, but, there was a building that housed, I think, 120 or 160 lifers coming to the end of their sentences. Not psychopaths. These are people, crimes of passion or whatever. Some may have done 30 years. They're coming out, so they go to work. Kind of weird when you first walk down that corridor in the middle of the night on your own and they're not locked up, and you're thinking, there's murderers all around me. But in that kind of prison, there are some people that just can't hack the open space. They abscond or whatever, and they will do something to go back to a closed prison. And some prisoners, you can go, right, get behind your door, and off they go. Others will need to be physically done. And that's how they respond. They need that shake up, because they're not going to listen to the, oh, come on, mate, what's up with you? Why are you feeling like this? You need, get your fucking cell, you wanker. And then they will respond, because that's what they needed to hear. They needed to see that you've got the strength. And I think that translates into life as general. Is some people need that, oi, sort your shit out, and other people need the, I feel for you.
So would you say genuinely we're a little soft as an industry if you had to take a stand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, because I think our biggest problem is that one thing I think all humanity, unless you're some enlightened master, has got mental health issues. Not 1 in 4, it's like everybody.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But now with the social media era, we're hearing about lots of crazy ass shit from people and their so-called traumas that no, that's not really a trauma. That's some shit you could work on your own if you fucking didn't want to play the victim role. Whereas there are other people really do need to get to see, like, an appointment with a psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor, whatever, and they can't because the queues are full of wankers that are like,
talking to this idea of I'm not okay, right? Say for any of us who are working with clients and our clients, because that's who you're speaking to, right? Is like everyone who's watching you now and me, like we've got clients and customers, right? Who often feel like there is some area where they're not okay. How would you suggest we work with that with a client that's like I'm not okay, and they're like trying to learn to accept that not okayness? Where do you begin in trying to work with that so that they're not just accepting that they're not okay?
Well, I think you acknowledge it to start with
Mm.
and go, yeah, I sympathize, empathize, whatever you want to do. Acknowledge that base and then really establish from them, is that where you want to stay? Do you want to stay in victim mode? Because you can stay there and there are lots of benefits there. You don't have to take
Right.
responsibility, you can get sympathy, you can use it as your get out of jail card for shit you don't want to do. That really could work for you. If that's where you want to stay, and we can work through that and get smooth off some of the edges so it's not quite so painful. But wouldn't you like to be okay? Wouldn't you like to be better?
Mm.
Just don't stay there. And that's why the title is. Because there are books and t-shirts, everything. It's okay to be not okay. And then it's just that's the, I can't think of the word, not threshold, not the plateau. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but baseline
Yeah.
of where you're at is not okay.
And I wonder how much also what you're talking to with the not being okay, being perpetually not okay. What I've seen and heard from my clients and their horror stories with their clients is that it can begin this perpetual healing cycle, right?
Mm.
Where it's just like, well, if I'm not okay, I've got to go in search of something to heal that, and it's almost like, well, you never quite find the full healing. It's never quite over. It's like, well, I'm constantly healing, and I sometimes think that, to your point, perpetuates the I'm not okay, but I'm on a journey. It's like this sort of I'm on a journey.
Yeah, and I don't think that many people know where they want to go anyway. What okay looks like even.
Oh, that's a great point. Like we haven't defined okay well. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. What are the symptoms of okay? I'm literally writing this down on my phone because I'm so inspired by what you're saying. Um, and like defining them so that we know when we spot them. Like you can know when you start to have them, rather than I feel like we're always looking for the negative symptoms. Oh, I got a bad thought then, or that thing bothered me. That feels like that's all we're talking about.
And also we have that kind of a fantasy version of what okay looks like that's probably never going to appear.
Lamborghini, seven figures, swimming pool. It reminds me of
Long
something, actually.
hair.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that. I remember 2 houses ago from where I'm talking to you now. 2 houses ago, um, we had a house with a pool, and I remember the whole fantasy came true. It was like, oh my god, I've got a house with the pool and everything. And the funny thing was, to your point about fantastical okayness, was it was a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. Like having a pool is not. It's like you're doing so much work for a few days. The way I described it to a friend who was thinking of getting buying a place with a pool, I said, you are working so hard to make the water toxic enough that nothing can live in it, but not too toxic that you die in it. Like when you get in. But it's such looking after a pool. It would be like something I would never want to do again. It was just there was maths involved. You had to be like a chemistry teacher. And I like that, to the point that like we do kind of borrow what okayness looks like. There's fantasy okay. It's like okay,
Yeah.
it's all this and this and this, rather than
What are you saying? I worked as a pool lifeguard.
did you?
Um, and in a public bath, it kills everything and removes just enough urine.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. We don't want anything biological to be able to survive in this, except let the humans. As long as they're in it for less than an hour, they'll be okay. You know. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And we don't define. I think we take so little time to define okay in reality for ourselves. What does that look like in reality? You know, and so then if
Or miracles to the sense that life is always going to be a bed of roses. You know, the okay means you'll never get pissed off, that you'll never feel down, that nothing will upset you. That's just a fantasy, unless you really are dedicated to some spiritual path and enlightenment and gonna get there, which most people
yeah,
aren't going to. Even those that think they're dedicated to it aren't gonna get there. You know, we can't expect life to always be nice and nothing's going to upset us, but we can either react to what's going on, which is that kind of instinctual, more animalistic, what we see in the world, road rage type event, or we respond, which is more using, like, you know, your neocortex, more civilized human, where you go, yes, that person cut me up, and if it had been 2 seconds sooner, they could have killed me.
yeah,
Justifiable rage, but civilized human. No, they didn't. They missed. So it was a close call.
yeah,
Nothing has actually fucking happened.
yeah. Move on.
Move on.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of, like, you know, having to film it and share it.
There's something of an almost like a stoic sense to some of what you're preaching. Has that been an influence for you at all?
Interestingly, I came across Stoicism last year.
Yeah,
Maybe before then, because I probably came across Marcus Aurelius's Meditations before that.
yeah,
But Epictetus and his discourses and the Enchiridion, came across that last year. But it just resonated with the things that I was doing as a therapist.
yeah,
Of the, you know, there's certain things that we have control over: our decision making, our boundary, what we accept
mm,
in psychological boundary, by going win-win. Yes, we'll have some of that. Win, lose, fuck off. We don't want any of that. So that was kind of the stuff that I was talking about when I was working in the health center up until 2010. And then coming across Epictetus and is what's within our control is the will, and anything else that we don't have control over, yeah, it does kind of influence it. But
yeah. Well, because also a lot of the things that are making us not okay are so often outside of our control. I
yeah,
speak to healers and practitioners of some pretty out there stuff, as you know, on a weekly basis, and it's and again, I'm not looking to disparage any of these methods that are designed to help with these things, but it strikes me that so much of what ails people are things out of their control, even to the point of what we might call ridiculous. So, like, well, a past life of mine did this thing, and that's why I have this going on. And I'm not saying whether or not I think that's true. I think that's irrelevant. But like, I now have something more that's outside of my control, that's already happened, if it did happen, that I can sort of assign my woes to. You know?
as you say, there's probably a grain of truth in all that. That was a contributing factor to what triggered you to feel a certain way. But then you were in charge of how you felt afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I love something of Wayne Dyer's. Got me through a hard time. I just had surgery. I lost the flat I was in. I lost my business, and I just had my cat put to sleep. And this is at Christmas. Um, so not the best of times. And I was listening, you know, like, I think they call them quantum moments or some shit like that. And because I remember it clearly that New Year's Eve would have been 2009, coming into 2010, I think. The Classic FM used to play, you know, the gongs of Big Ben. And just before that, it was the 1812 Overture, finishing with a canon version as well, which is like one of my favorite pieces of classical music. Went into that, and then it's a new year, and I think I was listening to Wayne Dyer's um, "Excuses Be Gone," and he was telling that Taoist story about um, the farmer, and what we don't know what is good and bad. Do you know that one?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We'll see that one. We'll see.
Yeah, it's like the horses
Yeah,
fuck off and
yeah,
then like come back and he breaks his leg and all that.
that's right.
Everybody listening to this, you know that story anyway, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, the Taoist farmer. And that's switched something in my head because I had been in victim mode going, fucking hell, like, ugh. And then I realized it was probably the push I needed to move on to what, because I've been like grumbling about working in this health centre because it had changed completely how it was. And it's like, I'd wanted to move. The universe went, well, you want to move? There you go. Fuck off. Give me a kick up the arse.
At this point, I just want to let everybody know. Firstly, I'm enjoying this conversation, Stuart. So thanks, mate. The all through this chat, underneath us is the web address. It's not okay to be not okay. No, it's not okay to be not okay. There you go. I think I said it correctly. It's not okay to be not okay. And we want to send you the book. So get to It's Not Okay to Be Not Okay. Put in your name and email address. You'll not only then get the Amazon link where you can buy the book, but then you'll register with Stuart, who can then give you all of the bonuses. You'll probably get occasional emails with, I promise you, some very entertaining Hunter S. Thompson meets Wayne Dyer discourse from. You've got to read some of Stuart's articles. They're brilliant. I think you'll enjoy them. So grab the book. Okay, where were we? So I want to kind of shift focus a little bit.
Very generous of you, sir.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well,
I'm just buying my book now so I can get the bonuses.
Yeah, well, I offer those bonuses in. I hope that they go as a display of my faith in your work, and I think that it's not okay to be not okay. When you first pitched that to me, I'll be honest with you. Like I was originally like, okay, it feels a bit gimmicky. I was like, oh man, is this just another gimmick? But what I've seen come out of it from obviously I got to read some of the early drafts and look it over. And what it strikes me is this is a bugle call, especially to us as healers and coaches.
The book wasn't written for therapists,
No.
obviously. It's kind of a general thing, but I think it will probably hit them more than most people
Yeah.
because we spend a lot of time helping other people, but are we just hiding something that's broken inside ourselves as well? And we're hiding, by being busy and helping others, it stops us looking back at ourselves and going, yeah, I'm feeling pretty fucked as well. I'm sure I'm not the only therapist that's gone through depression themselves.
You see, this is something I think should be talked about way more. You've just touched on, to me, what is a huge thing is like I've seen it, obviously, because I'm working with healers and practitioners and coaches, and there's the savior complex, obviously, of wanting to help others.
Oh,
But like,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think to your point, I think sometimes that comes up because it's almost like, but if I was just to say it as bluntly as I could, it's like maybe I can redeem myself. You know what I mean? If I save this person, maybe I can save me. Or maybe I can push the guilt away, or I could push my own shame away, or I could push that thing that I'm ashamed of, or that I've done. If I help somebody else, and I can be that superhero. I can be perfect. All of those things that I've seen are.
If I'm being
at play.
100% honest on this, is that
Go on.
I think what's driven most of my research and study is fixing like my problems. When I had bad relationships, I spent fucking loads of money on going on courses to do relationship counseling and stuff like that. And so I think that my own issues has driven most of my therapeutic career and research.
Mm.
Not all of it, but
I feel like if more coaches, therapists read your book, not from the healer space of like I know and I'm that, but like from the maybe looking, find some acceptance for your own not okayness, and working with that could be helpful.
Yeah, the book's not about fixing people. It's just
Yeah.
Trying to stop lying to yourself and be honest with what's going on. You don't have to put on, yes, we do have to put on a mask when we go out and do our therapy, because here I am sat in a t-shirt talking to you, and a hat. If I was still in a health center, I would probably still get suited and booted to go in. Probably wouldn't be swearing. I might even talk a little bit more posh and put on my therapist voice when I'm talking to them. But there'd still be the grounded part of me that would be turning up.
Sorry, I'm still tickled by your therapist voice.
You should hear my actor voice, darling.
Yeah. Well, this is another whole dimension with you, right? Because you've got a master's in film studies. You're an actor as well, and to me, this is really interesting as somebody that was raised by actors, and as you know, I've done a lot of work with masks and pretense and performance and how we bring that sometimes to our work and where it's good and where it's maybe not so useful.
I did a video about the masks that we put on for people, and it's the smile when like deep down inside you're going, ah. That's one of the masks we wear. We, especially for therapists, we keep ourselves busy, keep that schedule going, rather than sitting down and confronting ourselves and looking in the mirror and going, there are things I need to work on, or other things like humor to keep people at arm's length and pretend that we're okay when it stops people coming close, and things like that.
How does being a performer, how does that inform your therapeutic work? How does it inform what you're talking to in the book?
Well, there's an interesting thing here that just came to mind, and I think I wrote it in the book or something, but early on when I trained in hypnotherapy and hypnoanalysis, when I was coming out of the Navy, one of the things they said was that a lot of people who are drawn to become therapists is because they need therapy themselves. And a lot of people who are drawn to acting, it gives them a chance to play the role of somebody different, be that confident person, whereas they are some of the people that really need to see a therapist the most. And I'm both. So what does that say about me?
No, I love that. I mean, definitely, I think like acting for me, seeing it secondhand, but through my parents, it showed me that like I've seen like the constant struggle between me and my dad, for example, through the years, even now as obviously we're both adults, is like how can we be real with each other? Or is it all, like humor and other, the distance stuff? And I really like that. Is like, yeah, who needs the therapy the most? The fucking therapist. What does the actor need the most is to stop acting. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
in their life, it's like stop acting. And it's I see that there's a relationship there with like the not okayness of it, right? Like it's these things that we're drawn to that we often need the most. The acceptance that comes with that, that gives me some insight. I really like that.
Yeah. In the video, I basically say just for one day, for 5 minutes on one day, just drop all the masks, because what you're showing to people is what you think they want to see. But you may be surprised that they actually want to see the real you that's hiding behind the mask.
I had a friend when I was at QVC, the shopping channel, when I was a producer, and she was one of the floor managers, the 5, 4, 3 next to the camera. And she came out to all of us as lesbian, and we were all like, yeah, yeah, we knew all along, like we could see it. But she was incredibly, I remember it really, really well. Like she was so nervous about it. She thought she was telling us a secret that none of us could see. and like she was not okay with what she was living, you know, and on all of this. And when she came out, it was just like, oh yeah, yeah, that's not a surprise to any of us at all, you know. And I feel like that's the case with being not okay. Is like chances are good everyone around you that matters can probably see that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for the person who's doing their best and stiff upper lip and oh get on, or the person making all the jokes, I believe there's some part of us humans that can kind of see through that anyway. And I think half the time we're just a bit confused with what we're being shown, right? It's something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. That yeah, we can see it. I had a similar thing with a guy that I worked at. Because after getting a master's degree, I became unemployable because I was overqualified for most jobs and not got the experience to get into the film industry at a
Right, right.
kind of thing. So I worked at Gulliver's Kingdom.
Gulliver's Kingdom.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a children's theme park. So I was
Well,
an
this sounds.
entertainer.
I'm going. By the way, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, go to the new one, the big one at Rotherham, I think. Not the one I worked at. I worked at the original one at Matlock Bath, which is on a hill.
Okay.
But it's for kids,
Right.
all the rides and all that. I was an entertainer there, so some of my time I'm dressed as a mouse, dancing and shit like that. But we're only a small team, the entertainments department are, because most of the people are operating the rides. And there was a lad there who'd been there a few years, and he carried. So, because we were talking about when I worked as a scare actor at another event, and he went, "Yeah, I bet you didn't think I was gay," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you were obvious." He went, "Yeah, but and he was trying to. He wasn't somebody who had hidden it or anything like that, because when you went out drinking, he was one of those guys who brought the humor out
Yeah.
about his gay side, but when we were just first chatting and he was going, yeah, I just look like a normal lad and everybody thinks I'm not gay. And I went, well, I thought you were.
Yeah. It's like nah. I got to tell you something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's where so many therapists and coaches are suffering. Right? Is that like it's a really busy industry for starters. It's about to be something that AI, if not already, can do for you. You know, all this kind of thing. My brother said it well the other day. He just went, you're going to be out of a job, you know, in like 9 months' time. And you know, I don't tend to get on board those kind of fear messages. But what I thought is like, there's a lot of people, healers, practitioners, coaches that are really suffering right now because they're like, holy crap, like am I about to be out of a job? You know, I've got this going on. I'm trying to make a buck and I'm trying to help people. I have to hide the fact that I'm trying to make a buck from people. And I think to our point, probably all these areas that we're not okay, to anyone who cares even an inkling, it shows. You can see it, you know?
I think we're living in a time where people think that every emotion needs a round of applause. You know, oh, I feel bad. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Sorry for you. But sometimes what you're feeling is just a bit of dodgy old programming and you can ignore it. Not every single negative emotion needs to be given a round of applause and put in the spotlight.
Processed.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, yeah. You know, like I was saying about myself. A year ago, working on things, trying to get myself out into the public and all that, I could make it to, well, maybe 2 years ago because I did manage to do a podcast for a year, but I would give up very quickly, 3 months point, and it could depress me and put me in a low mood. And I could stay in that low mood for a long time before I'd start doing something else again. Whereas now, when that raises its head, I acknowledge and go, "Oh, look, you've been a
Mm,
twat again.
mm,
You're playing victim. How long are you going to stay there this time, you wanker?"
yeah.
And hopefully it's not long. Whereas the problem is with true depression, I will say, though, sometimes it can be nothing has happened whatsoever. There's no trigger. You can just have a day where, that's it. fucking hell, you can't get off the couch. Nothing's fucking happening for you today. And those days, I tend to probably sit there for a long time, questioning it in my head, having those conversations. Why are you sitting there? You know, go for a walk. No, I don't want to fucking go for a walk. But it'll make you feel better. I don't give a fuck. I'm staying here. And then at some point, I may turn that into something creative and write about it. It may not go public. It might be in the mountain of paper of scraps over there where I've inspired to write something about it. And then once I've got the writing going, it's got me up and going. Another bonus that I will be sending out as an email, and he's right, I won't be spamming you because like that's just not me. I can't. Just writing anything will take me long enough, even with AI helping. But I am going to be doing an audio version, which won't be just the book. There'll probably be some extra kind of insights of
cool
going along with it. So when that's done, I would email that out to people that have bought the book as well. So
I would love that. I would love that. I'm so glad you said that, because you know, when there's an audiobook, I always want more. I'm like, don't just read the words. Tell me a little bit, like elaborate a bit more. So that'll be fantastic. Thank you. And so everyone that gets the book, by going to It's Not Okay to Be Not Okay, there's some bonuses. Once you put name and email address in, you'll get the links to go and get it on Amazon. You'll get Stuart's existing bonuses, which is there's a deleted chapter. It's a little bit too, maybe a little bit too rude for the main book. There's some great wallpapers. Again, I'm a huge fan of wallpapers. When I need to remember something, if you're anything like me, guys, like, you know, when there's like, oh shit, I need to remember, like Walden, Thoreau wrote Walden, A Year in the Woods, and I've got wallpapers of some of my favorite quotes from that book, you know, that I'll put up. And I encouraged Stuart. I'm so glad he did it, because I was like, this is what I want. Like, if I'm buying this book, I want some of those highlights so I can just flick through them on my phone without having to try and find them on the page. So I know you get those as like some downloadable files. You can just save them to your computer, put them there when you want them. Good shit. I appreciate it, mate.
Thank you for having me.
Spending some time with you. Big love.
Thank you for watching, anybody who's made it this far.